Okay, in this next segment, we've already kind of got the horse behind the corner. He's comfortable in our get off as far as transferring that weight. So now we want to do a little box work with him. And one of the things I want to tell you about this is if you're working a young horse, a lot of times you want to just get an old steer out there. I mean, and if you want him going to cattle and trying to find that spot, what you want to do is get him out there in your pen. Get an old steer that's just broke and slow, maybe an old Jersey or something, and get out there in the pen and just kind of track that steer around that pen. Get that young horse to finding the steers, and also placing himself. Let that steer go anywhere he wants to in that arena, and you get to that right shoulder and you stay right there. Now look, that doesn't mean that you're 5 foot from him 1 minute, 2 foot from him the next minute. What you want to do is place yourself and work hard enough to keep that horse where he's positioned it correctly, okay? So that means that you're going to have to work. I mean, the steer to start with is probably going to trot, maybe lope a little bit, but you're going to have to work. He'll slow down, eventually he'll slow down. As he goes down the fences and stuff, just make sure that horse, no matter if the steer's going left, right, if he's going in circles, make sure that that horse is staying in the proper position. Because what that's going to mean a little later is when you leave that box, he's going to find his position with that steer. You know, you'll do a lot of that tracking, a lot of that stuff before you ever run a steer. A lot of bull owners, they probably think this opinion is not exactly like you want because they say, hey, you want him to run in by steers. We'll get to that point. But you're talking about a young horse here that you've got to get to where he knows where to position himself. I'd much rather have a horse that could cheat by a steer and place himself correctly than one that runs by a steer. I mean, you'll win a lot more money. So if that horse is not just to eat up with speed, you know, that's okay. But he has to have good speed. Something, you know, he has to have that extra little bit to get you by those cattle. But that's to start with. Now once you've done that, then you're ready to start the box work, okay? And so let's talk about that a little bit. Now in this box work, you see I've got my old horse here, and I will take this horse, and what I want to start doing, and I'll just take him and put him in front of this box. And what I want him doing, I want him working to the box. You see I'm going in a circle here, and I'll take these horses and I'll go in these circles, and I'll just walk them, and then I'll trot them, and then I'll lope them. What I want to do is I want to get that horse, I want to get him to relax in here, and as he relaxes, he's going around these circles. I'll even lope him in these circles, and I'll lope him down until he's really relaxed in front of this box. A good indicator, if you're working a horse, and a good indicator for you, and this is kind of a fail truth deal. Now, if you're riding that horse in circles, and you've run 2 or 3 steers on him, or you've done something, or you've got an old horse and you're trying him, you take him in front of that box. If he lopes back to that box, if he's loping toward that box, or trotting toward that box in a circle, then normally he's trying to find a resting spot. That horse he's trying to go to that box because he knows if you put him in that corner, that's where he's going to rest. If he's never been worked right, or if you haven't spent the time on him, what he's going to do, the first thing you do when you circle him right here, is he's going to lope away from that box. He's wanting to get away from his work, what I call getting away from his work. So he'll lope to start with, he'll go right there at the box, and then the more he lopes, you'll see that he's going away from it. Now, the circles is just another part of his work. And I see guys that go to the rodeos, they don't know if their horse is warmed up or not. They haven't spent the time on him. They don't know what it takes to warm him up. I take these young horses, or any horse, any bull-on horse we got, I want to take them in circles. You get to the rodeo, you don't have to be in front of the box for you to warm your horse up. If you got a horse that's really pretty gassy and he's really wanting to go, what you can do to offset that is pick the corner of that nose up just a little bit, make him stay in that same circle. Don't let him get out of that circle. You see how his nose is up? You just kind of lift that nose up, and when you tilt that nose just a little bit, you start seeing the sweat break out on him. You'll start, and because that one little deal right there, you're not in his mouth, you're just kind of picking the tip of that nose up just a little bit, and he's submitting to you, which that means a lot. When that horse submits to you, what happens is now he's got to work. He's not just loping around in a circle, because these horses get in really good shape. And if they're just loping in a circle, they can lope all day. Okay? So we want to make sure that we're getting something out of our circles. Okay, once you've done that, and this is another thing, when you get to the rodeo, It's easy because you know you can take him over there in a corner, away from everybody, away from everything. You can tilt his nose a little bit if he's a young horse, work him till he's got a good lather. He's working down till he's relaxed. He understands what this means. So he relates that back to where you've been right here. See, and it's a great transition for horses to go to the rodeos. The next thing I want to talk about is being consistent with these horses. All right, you've worked him down, you've got him working now, he's got his work clothes on. I mean, his head's down and he's relaxed, he's ready to go to work. Now the next thing is for you to be consistent in the box. I see a lot of guys and they're so inconsistent. They ride him one way one day and they ride him one way the next day. They don't know how to really relax. I mean, when you're riding a horse, you want to stay as relaxed. Relax your legs, let him feel that you're relaxed. It doesn't matter if there's 10,000 people out there, you still need to try to relax your legs and be as consistent on as you can. If you've ever watched runners getting ready to run a race like at the Olympics, you'll see that they start shaking their hands and they start trying to get their muscles as relaxed as they can. It's the same thing with horses. The more relaxed he stays, the more loose he is and the harder he can leave the starting blocks or the corner. So, and the money's won between the corner and the strap, the barrier. I know I've had some really great horses that I've trained, and I can tell you, if anybody says the best thing about those horses is that they left the corner. And a good sign of a horse that really works well is a horse that when you're riding him out of the corner, that the saddle horn drops. This saddle horn actually leaves and drops down. If that saddle horn is staying high, that horse is leaving high. If he's leaving high, he'll probably run high, and you're probably not getting much run out of it. Now, if he feels like the saddle just drops out from under you, then you got a horse that's really relaxed and really leaving the box correctly. And I'll tell you, you can win a lot of money on those horses because they're hard to find. Probably most of them have never been trained correctly, and those are the horses that are just prime horses to get on. I mean, I know Clayton and them are riding Cadillac. They've got, I know Tyrekson's got a really nice horse. Tyler's got a really nice horse. If you watch those horses in the box, they're not going in there and they're on the muscle, but they're totally in control and they're relaxed. We try, in the practice pen, we try to give them as much, and score. I'll say that. When you got a good horse, you make sure you score. Let's talk about this young horse now. We're fixing to, I want to ride this horse in, and look, the consistency starts when you ride the horse in the box. The consistency starts right here. And look, do the same thing over and over and over. That's the way you get great results. When I'm riding this horse in, as every time I want to ride him in the same spot in the corner, I want to ride him to the same location. I want to ride him deep in that box. I want to get to a point. I want him to pull the barriers. I want him to do everything, have the steer ready. Everything needs to be consistent at that point, even on young horses. Don't make them think too much. You get in there, you want to give them a break. Don't make them think a whole lot. You ride in there, they do their job. Hey, it's just another part of working. So I don't want that to be a starting spot or a ending spot. I want it to be just another spot that the horse has to work out of. So I'll ride this horse deep in the corner. When I turn my horse around, they're pulling the barrier, they pull the barrier, and I back him in here. Look, I don't want to have to ride him with my hands a whole lot. I want to use my feet. Right here, I use my right foot and let him find that corner, let him relax, let him stand there. He's good to go. You see how low my hands are? I don't want my hands up here. I'm not pushing this horse out with my hand. That doesn't work. A good score on a horse is about this far. He needs to score off your hand. He needs to score just about from here to here. You just put a little tension on his bridle there, just a little bit on his bridle, and just let him know you're there. And then other than that, you want to keep that tension off. If I pick his head up, if I do this and I pick his head up, he's going to leave that box up high. And he's not, you see how he's shaking his head? He doesn't like that much. My horses don't. Now if I ride up and he moves over, he's not in the position I need him in, he's way over here, I just take, and I'm not moving my hand at all. I just put a little pressure, I use my right foot, and he finds the corner himself. Now, the other thing is, if you're riding a young horse, you're placed in the box, and his lane goes from the middle of this box, and we'll ride up from right here to right here, not to the pen. I see too many bull augers. They start horses, and the first thing to do is let that horse break to that pen. First of all, he's got to change leads twice in the run. He's going to break to the pen. Now think about this, because here's the thing. I want my horse just to run lanes. I'm not really concerned that he's moving real hard to the right or to the left. I want him to run lanes. I want that hazer to help me, and I want that horse running lanes. It's a lot faster. Straight lines are faster. So I back that horse in here. I'm looking down a pen. I look at my steer, and I'm relaxed. And look, this is all it takes. If you have to get in here and shuffle around and do your feet, and I see guys doing this, and they pull their hat down, and they're getting ready to go. I mean, this is just, it's confusing. And the worst thing you can do is you ride the horse back in here, he's ready to go, and you look over and say, are you ready? You look at your hazer and ask him if he's ready. If he's not ready, then go fire it. Go get you another hazer. Or if he's not ready, he should tell you. Because your concentration at that point should be right here. Whether you're riding a young horse, an old horse, or whatever. So you take this horse, you break him, like I said, when you nod, the score ought to be right there. Right here. Hands down, hands down, hands down. And just think about, if I take him right here, everything's going to come in at a nice little angle, you're going to get the catch. Now, if I break that horse and I break him here to the pen, now the steer comes out, I got a hazer coming in here, everything's going to go left, he's got to run around that steer. It takes forever. You know, and I see a lot of good bull-logging horses would be great bull-logging horses if they broke right, if they broke from the back of the box to the barrier right. Because this takes a lot of time. Now, I took 3 steps there to get to this spot. I took 2 steps to get there. You tell me what's better. So I think if you want your horse to work and not have to just overwork, let him do that. Now here's the thing. I talked about working a hot horse, or working him hot. I see a lot of these bull-logging horses, we score, and look, when you're riding a young horse, score him 3 or 4 times, then run 1 steer, okay? Like if I take him in there and I score 2 or 3 steers, but I also like to score them like this. I want to show you again. Okay, when you're scoring these steers, let them open the gate and just walk. Start walking him up and nod and let them open the gate. You want that horse to be loose, free. You want him to be relaxed. You know, if you got a horse that, man, he takes his head and he goes straight up, when you do that, then he's not relaxed. You know, and it may take you 4, 5, or 6 sessions to ever get that horse to where you can totally get him to relax. Because, again, that saddle horn needs to go down. If I'm having to hold him to score, then I'm picking him up. He's going to leave there high. I'm having to hold him to score. So he's picking up now, and he's going to run high every time. So I want to be able to take that little horse, and I want to keep my hands down and let him feed out of there. There's certain horses that I've been on that we call it feather now, which is a great little feeling. I mean, you feel him now. Some of them you want just to leave the corner of that box as hard as they can. That's fine. But regardless, whichever way he leaves the box, you want to make sure he's leaving low. And that will be beneficial to you in ways you can't understand. I mean, you'll start catching cattle instead of halfway down the pen. On that young horse, you'll start watching him and you'll start catching cattle a quarter of the way down the pen. And you'll also get better goes because guess what? He's running straight lines now. He's not running around cattle, okay? So that's a good thing. Now let's say that we've done that, we've scored, everything's great. Now what I like to do with a young horse, and I'm going to tell you how to work them hot. So now we've trained our horse, we've got him like we want him. All of a sudden, everybody wants to get on him because guess what? He's the best thing out there. You know, you take him to a rodeo and you've worked him, you've scored him, you've done all that. You've run 2 or 3 steers a practice session, which that's enough. You know, he's working at the top of his game. Everybody's really excited about this horse. You throw him out there on the road, and what happens? You got 4 or 5 guys wanting to mount him, and here you go. He's not running 1 steer scored. He's having to run 1 steer, then another steer, then possibly another steer, and you know, he's the best thing there, or he's the only one there, and you've got a truck with 4 guys and 1 horse, and that happens all the time. All right, so the best thing you can do to work a horse hot is this, and this goes back to your circles. If I'm going to work a horse hot and teach him how to work hot, I want him to work every run, and I want him to work consistent every run. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to take him in those circles. I want to work him down. I'm going to work him down until I feel comfortable. I ride him in the box. I run a steer. Now, as soon as they catch him at the other end, he's supposed to go to the corner. He's supposed to be relaxed. They catch him at the other end. They bring him back to me. I'm standing right there. I get on him. I get right back in the circles, and I work him just as hard as I did the first time before I ever ran a steer. I circle him. I lope him. I get him to break down and relax. It's not hurting him. You're not going to overheat him. Don't do it in 99-degree weather, but I mean, if it's fairly decent, lope him down. It won't take long if he's been worked. Ride him in the box, run another steer. And what you do is if you want to do that and work a horse hot, you can work him about 4 or 5 steers. But the key to making him still work is to take him in those circles, the small circles. When you get done on the last steer, however many you run, you put him in the circles, and then you ride him in the box and you score him. That's the way to work a horse hot, and it's an excellent way for you to find out what you got as far as a mount horse, if he can handle a heat. If he can't, back him up a little bit. Go back to where it's, you're only running 2 or 3 steers, but you're constantly working those horses till you get them to where they're mount horses, and then you'll have what you want. You can make lots and lots of money on them because there's very few of them out there.